I looked and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal. Ezekiel, also known as Yehezkel, was a Jewish prophet and priest who appears in the Bible. Among all the prophets, he is known for having had one of the most intense encounters ever recorded. It is said that after this experience, Ezekiel was reborn as a true messenger of God. This life-changing event took place around 597 BC, when he was taken captive by the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Even as a priest, he could not escape forced labor, and he was brought to the Kebar River near the city of Nippur in southern Babylon. There, in the midst of harsh days, Ezekiel witnessed something so strange that he could never forget it for the rest of his life. While I was among the exiles by the Kebar River, the heavens were opened and I saw visions of God. The word of the Lord came expressly to Ezekiel the priest, and the hand of the Lord was upon him there. Before Ezekiel appeared the figure of the Lord, bearing the likeness of God. It came driving a great storm cloud, flashing like lightning and radiating light in all directions. From within this cloud emerged something that looked like burning, glowing metal. This image does not exactly fit the God figure we usually imagine. A solid metallic form emitting light, breaking through the clouds. It sounds strikingly like some kind of machine. But Ezekiel's description of this God does not end there. In the fire was what looked like 4 living creatures, and in appearance their form was human. Each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, their feet were like those of a calf, and gleamed like burnished bronze. Under their wings on their 4 sides they had human hands. Their wings touched one another. Each one went straight ahead. They did not turn as they moved. Ezekiel's depiction is so complex that it's nearly impossible to picture at a glance. But from this passage we can infer 2 things. What he saw was flying, and it was composed of multiple parts. This has led many to wonder, did Ezekiel encounter a UFO? In 1970, Joseph F. Blumrich, a veteran NASA engineer, came across this theory and became intrigued. But as the deputy chief at the Marshall Space Flight Center, Blumrich, an engineer by training, initially set out to debunk this so-called UFO hypothesis once and for all. He meticulously examined the book of Ezekiel, sketched designs, and analyzed the details. Yet to his shock, he reached the exact opposite conclusion. Ezekiel's vision really did describe a spacecraft. In June 1974, he published his findings in his book, The Spaceships of Ezekiel. The wheel described by Ezekiel is not a prophetic vision, nor a metaphor for divine contact. It is one of the most valuable records of an ancient encounter with astronauts from another planet. Blumrich argued that this was direct evidence supporting the ancient astronaut theory. The idea that advanced beings from other worlds once visited Earth and shared their technology with ancient humans. As an engineer who had designed real spacecraft for NASA, Blumrich used his expertise to illustrate what Ezekiel's craft could have looked like in technical detail. The spacecraft likely had a shape similar to a spinning top. This design is not only original, but highly efficient. Its shape was dictated by aerodynamic principles. To travel from space to Earth, a craft must decelerate from tremendous speeds down to 0. The conical lower section provided ideal braking capabilities. 4 propulsion units were arranged symmetrically to balance weight and enable smooth landings. These could easily have appeared to Ezekiel as the 4 living creatures. Each unit worked like a helicopter rotor, perfectly suited for the arrangement of the craft. Later, Blumrich summarized his research in an article titled The Spaceship of the Prophet Ezekiel, published in UNESCO's journal Impact of Science on Society. Unsurprisingly, this sparked enormous controversy, both religiously and scientifically. The faithful argued that Ezekiel's vision was purely symbolic, not a description of an alien craft. But the text has more curious details. The appearance of the living creatures was like burning coals of fire or like torches. Fire moved back and forth among the creatures. It was bright and lightning flashed out of it. The creatures sped back and forth like flashes of lightning. This implies a craft with engines or thrusters that expelled flames, with lights that seemed to move systematically along its frame. Ezekiel also described the wheels in remarkable detail. Beside each creature was a wheel on the ground. The wheels sparkled like topaz and all four looked alike. Each appeared to be made like a wheel intersecting a wheel. Wherever the spirit would go, they would go, and the wheels would rise along with them, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. This part is crucial. The wheel within a wheel structure appears in Blumrich's own designs as well, suggesting that these wheels were not just symbolic but functional landing gear. When the living creatures moved, so did the wheels. When they lifted off, the wheels lifted too, much like retractable wheels on a modern aircraft. Blumrich studied these wheels intensively and eventually invented a practical version, which he patented as the Omni wheel. This revolutionary wheel can roll smoothly in any direction and is still used in robotics and vehicles today. It's no wonder it's still nicknamed Ezekiel's wheel. But perhaps the most astonishing part of Ezekiel 1 comes later. Spread out above the heads of the living creatures was what looked like a vault, sparkling like crystal and awesome. Under the vault, their wings were stretched out one toward the other, and each had two wings covering its body. When the creatures moved, I heard the sound of their wings, like the roar of rushing waters, like the voice of the Almighty, like the tumult of an army. Above the vault over their heads was what looked like a throne of lapis lazuli, and high above on the throne was a figure like that of a man. Ezekiel described a crystal-like vault over the heads of the creatures, an expanse that looked clear and vast like glass. In biblical Hebrew, vault often means the sky, but Ezekiel used crystal to clarify its transparent nature. So what was this glass-like structure at the top of the craft? Blumrich and others suggested it was a cockpit canopy. Ancient people like Ezekiel would have had no frame of reference for a wide, clear cockpit window. So he called it a crystal vault. The wings covering the body could refer to mechanical wings folding during operation. The voice like an army might have been radio or speaker noise from the cockpit broadcast externally, sounding like many voices at once. The throne above the vault could be the pilot's seat, and the figure like that of a man could be an intelligent being that looked humanoid. Modern interpreters argue that for a man of that time, describing an advanced machine was nearly impossible. All Ezekiel knew were birds, clouds, thunder, and fire. So he described it with the closest images he could. Windstorms, lightning, precious stones, and radiant fire. Peter Krasa, author of Gods from Outer Space, pointed to this as evidence that Ezekiel did not meet God, but rather an ancient astronaut. Ezekiel even calls this figure both God and man, suggesting it looked human but was not. Could it be that Ezekiel really encountered an extraterrestrial visitor? The debate rages on. Experts have tried to reinterpret Ezekiel's account through a modern lens. A massive spaceship with lights appeared from the north, carrying storm clouds with it. It deployed 4 metallic landing gears, each with rotor-like blades like today's helicopters or drones. Thrusters fired to slow its descent, and when it landed, the wheels at the base rolled to move it on land. At the top was a wide, transparent canopy revealing a cockpit bathed in blue light. Inside sat a being that looked almost human. A speaker system broadcast voices from within, perhaps multiple beings communicating. When the ship lifted off again, the landing gears retracted smoothly into the body for flight. A shocking interpretation, to say the least. So what did Ezekiel really see that day? One fascinating detail. When Blumrich published his book, a UFO strikingly similar to Ezekiel's wheel was photographed near Mexico City in November 1973. The photo showed a craft with a gently conical base and 4 landing gears, just like Blumrich's design. This photo, verified by Kodak Mexico manager Roberto Padilla, remains one of the few UFO cases confirmed as authentic. Was this the same God Ezekiel saw by the Kibar River? The truth behind Ezekiel's vision, or UFO, remains a mystery to this day. This was Midnight Journey.